right, good afternoon, folks. This is your daily trade analysis from SeasonalSwingTrader.com. Today we're going to take a look at the energy markets, the RBOB unleaded gasoline contract March 2017, as well as crude oil. We'll be looking at the February contract in crude CLG7. And right now we're looking at the RBOB gas, and we have made a pretty good move up since the early November pivot lows here at the 382 around 132.05. Currently trading up and making new 52-week highs here on the RBOB contract. As you can see, our 3, 5, and then multi-year 10 and 15-year trend lines are pointing to a significant downturn lower going into mid-January. So we're looking here, putting these highs right along with the historical trend and historical price averages. Right now, as we're notching highs and staying up here, we're just on watch, but be on the lookout for a possible topping pattern. Right here is what we're looking at around the first week of January, maybe, for this thing to sell off into mid-January and then look for a possible entry to get back into the long side going into late Feb and early March. Going over to the crude oil contract, February 2017, we're looking at a daily contract here. Also a very similar pattern. We have almost a near drop-off in price going back to September according to the price averages, but this has moved somewhat contrary to the historical trend as it has done in the past. You can see again from early November we've kind of gone straight up here, but it looks like crude is a little bit weaker than the RBOB contract, putting in 1, 2, 3 top here, which is about a projected $4,100 move, takes you down to about the 46.85 level on the daily contract. Something of interest that I did want to point out, if you do look at the weekly chart on crude oil, this is interesting. And could cause us to be somewhat cautious with the trade, depending on what time frame you're trading. But I pulled this weekly chart up, and we've got an inverted head and shoulders bottom here, inverted head and shoulders bottom. So these are a little bit harder to distinguish as opposed to the head and shoulders top, which are a little bit clearer picture, at least in my opinion. But right here, we've got a large head and shoulders top. Multiple months in the making, going back to October, August of 2015, and this is projecting we'll call it a roughly $25,000 move to around the $79 to $80 level, which would be the 618 on the weekly contract. So what do we do? If we have a topping pattern on the daily, do we ignore it because this is heading higher, or do we play this one, the longer term move? The answer is I'll probably play the short term first. So if we go back to the Feb contract, that takes us down to 46.83 to meet our price objective if we do get a break here. If we do get a break and a confirmation, 46.85, give or take a nickel or dime would be our price objective. But if we flip back to the weekly, you can see that really takes us back to a trend line retest of this very long-term up trend line on the weekly chart. Be a trend line retest, also a test of the 236 on the weekly before we should expect to move higher. So that would all be a natural occurrence, would not be a surprise expected move on the weekly chart. As you can see, we're busting out here to the upside. Doesn't mean the thing's going to just rocket higher. We would expect a pullback, multiple pullbacks along the way. As long as it's respecting the uptrend line, we should be in good shape. But if it did want to roll back over and come down and test us again, that would be the 46.80 area, which would be our price objective on the daily chart. So I'm happy to take the daily move here and just play it on a daily chart, get the pullback. We would compare it to the weekly chart, and if we're holding the 236 area and the trend line here, that would be a good second entry spot to get in if you miss this area here. Or a little bit more conservative, you would miss out, in a good $4 move or so, but you could wait to see if we kind of rebroke this neckline here on this inverted head and shoulders. So that's what we've got in play today on crude and RBOB. We'll be in touch Later on this week, we'll be looking at the bonds, the indices, and some other markets. And hope to see you then. Take care.